So are Chicago's finances worse than previously thought? The question was raised yesterday at City Hall. So what could that mean for you? Charlie Wojciechowski's been looking at all the options for us. Charlie?
Well, the mayor's office says they are looking for progressive revenue sources, and while those sources have yet to be identified,
progressive,
some
they mean
groups
taxes.
already.
By progressive, they mean taxes. Watch, I guarantee. I haven't seen this video. I guarantee they mean taxes.
Expressing concern.
We have reached a point now where there's no return.
A frank admission from Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. A looming budget crisis could be even worse than expected without new taxes or cuts to city services.
The systems that people rely upon, education, healthcare, housing, our transportation, they are woefully underfunded, and everyone knows that.
Right now, Chicago is facing a $1.1 billion budget gap for 2026. The financial burden could be even greater because of a pension bill signed by Governor J.B. Pritzker, which has increased retirement benefits for police and firefighters. That added over $11 billion to the city's long-term pension liability.
Yes, I'm going to put forth a package that people can assess and debate.
So what could be in such a package? Johnson has already ruled out a property tax increase, which many alders had promised to vote against. Other possibilities include a corporate payroll expense tax, a head tax, and even a tax on cars coming into the downtown area, patterned after New York's congestion tax.
I have not made a formal presentation yet, but I can assure you one thing, though. I am committed to making sure that the ultra-rich and those with means put more skin in the game. That is the pathway forward.
Already, the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce has called some administration ideas a step backwards for economic growth.
These things are bad for business. They're bad for jobs. They're a direct disincentive for employers to hire people in Chicago.
Another challenge. Johnson says the Chicago public schools are owed more than $1 billion in funding from the state of Illinois.
It's $1.6 billion. These aren't my numbers. These are the state's numbers. Who's hurting ultimately here?
Johnson says whatever is in the package he intends to present to the city council will be pro-business, pro-growth, and pro-worker. He is expected to make his budget address in October, but in previous years, he has pushed that back a little bit.
Okay, so we're in still the discussion phase, the ideas phase. When does Chicago have to have a budget and have it done?
The absolute deadline is December. That's when they start worrying about the bond ratings and all of that kind of thing. So right now there's a lot of flexibility here. Once he makes that address, there'll of course be city council debate. There'll have to be an approval process, and then we start talking about an approved budget for 2026.
And what about the CTA? Any word on funding for the CTA? We know that there's problems there as well.
Well, this isn't part of the city package, but instead it is part of the state package.
So I'm going to stop it there because it seems like they're just talking about other stuff that's not really relevant to what I want to talk about. But this is what I want to say. This is what happens when you decide that you're going to classify yourself as a sanctuary city. The president of the United States, not the current one, but the previous president of the United States, who wasn't really even running the country because we know he had an auto pen and people were signing things on his behalf. He was non-compos mentis. He wasn't mentally capable to carry out the duties of president of the United States. But again, that's a conversation for another day. That's a topic for another video. But this is what happens when the president of the United States opens up its borders and Chicago decides to bill itself as a sanctuary city. And so you have millions upon millions of people crossing the border, and then hundreds of thousands of those, or tens of thousands of those, I don't know what the exact numbers were for Chicago, but they go over to your city. And now you have to use the resources, the finite resources that you have in your city to take care of these people who aren't contributing to the tax base because they're not working. You're giving them money. Now, I don't know if they were doing the same thing on the level of New York, but you're giving them money, you're giving them housing, you're giving them food, and you're basically taking care of them. Meanwhile, your own citizens are homeless. Your own citizens are struggling to live because Chicago is not exactly a cheap city. Your own citizens are struggling on a day-to-day basis, but you're putting all your money and all your resources towards illegal immigrants who shouldn't be in the country in the first place. And now you have a problem. The budget is out of control, and this is the direct consequence of those actions that you take. This is all that is. Chicago was broke, and a lot of cities, a lot of Democratic cities are going to come to the same problem. Because Democrats to Democrats, money just grows on trees. So it's spend until reality hits you in the face. This is what's going on. It's funny how he said, oh, yeah, we're going to make a budget that's pro-business. No, you're not. Because you were talking about, oh, the people with means are going to pay their fair share. Yeah, how? You're going to tax them more? The people that have money to actually move out of the city, you're going to tax them more money? Is that your plan? Those people are just going to end up leaving your city, which is what's going to happen in New York again. I'm sorry I keep mentioning New York. I know it's not exactly about New York. But New York is about to literally elect a socialist mayor who's talking about taxing people more money. But those with money will just leave. They will just leave. They will not stay in New York. And same thing is going to happen in Chicago. They're talking about doing the congestion taxing. Same thing like they're doing in New York. What did I say at the beginning of the video? That it was going to be taxes. They were going to tax their own citizens more money. Because that's the only way Democrats know how to solve their problems is by taxing people more. It's never about how can we cut spending to these programs. How can we come up with an idea? And I'm not saying that the Republicans are perfect either, because they have that problem too. They love to spend, but they're not on the level of Democrats. But back to my point. They never think about cutting programs because they want people to live off the government. But so their solution always is, how do we cut these programs? Their solution is never, how do we cut these programs, or how do we cut these benefits, or how do we rearrange this to be more, to save us some money. It's always about, we'll spend and we'll worry about it later. That's all it is. And I'm not surprised. And Chicago's the first one. And I guarantee you, I mean, Mayor Eric Adams already mentioned it, that it was unsustainable for New York as well. And I'm pretty sure a lot of cities in California are having the same issue. But this is what happens when you open up your borders, and instead of taking care of your citizens, you decide to take care of people who aren't even Americans and who shouldn't be here by law. This is what happens when you fuck over your everyday citizen for people who aren't supposed to be here. So short video today, guys. That's all I got for this video. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts on this. What do you think about Chicago going broke? And if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe button, and share this video with your friends. And if you have any video you want me to react to, my email is in the description box below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.